Welcome to ETV Bharat, sir.
Thank you.
Indian democracy has been thriving on free and fair elections, and the entire election process has been conducted by Election Commission. It forms the bedrock of the entire system. And now, in the light of present Supreme Court judgment regarding criminalization of politics, there is much that EC can do. So how is Election Commission gearing up to implement what directives Supreme Court has given?
Election Commission has set up a group of officers to revise the forms as per the directions of Honorable Supreme Court, so that we get all the information which has to be put in public domain, as well as implement other directions like publicizing thrice in print media, in electronic media, and all other instructions, because Commission takes it most seriously that as soon as the verdict from Honorable Supreme Court is received, we implement it immediately. And since 5 states are going to polls next.
So you're saying Telangana too with the other 4 states? Telangana would also go to polls with the other 4 states?
That I am not saying, but it is due for elections within next 6 months, whereas these 4 states have to complete elections before 15th of December. So all these elections are due in next few months, and we have to implement Honorable Supreme Court's direction even in these elections.
So, sir, the onus has been on political parties that they would give advertisements in newspapers, they would publicize. But this negative publicity, how practical it would be? I mean, expecting political parties and candidates to publicize negative things about themselves, their criminal background, and how would EC ensure that this is enforced, this directive?
EC will ensure that Honorable Supreme Court's directive is implemented in letter and spirit. The only issue which can come up is that the expenditure on this negative publicity is whether it is to be added to their ceiling on expenditure or not. Yes. That can be resolved taking into other factors in view.
So the upcoming elections in 4 state assemblies, the state election commissions would play a role in that too. So there would be a meeting with state election commissions, and how you are thinking of implementing it?
Actually, state election commissions are different constitutional authorities responsible for elections to the local bodies, municipalities and panchayats. So they have no role to play in assembly elections. We have our chief electoral officer in every state who carries out the directions of Election Commission of India while conducting elections to the Assembly and Parliament.
So when can we expect announcement of the dates for these 4 assembly elections?
As soon as Election Commission is ready, we will invite you all and announce the dates in front of the media.
Approximately?
That we do not predict at all.
Okay, and what about Telangana? Team has gone to Telangana.
Yeah, our official team has visited. They have assessed the ground reality, what is the level of preparedness. They will make a presentation to the Commission, and then Commission will take a call.
So right now decision has not been taken regarding Telangana?
Not yet, not yet.
Yeah, but the possibility seems that it might go with these 4.
Possibilities are enormous actually, sky is the limit.
As we see technology emerging as evolving every day, and we see that in electioneering as well, the role of social media is increasing, as we saw Cambridge Analytica, what it did in American elections, and these kinds of things are also happening in India. So there is a possibility that data can be stolen, there can be oppo research as happens in America, and all these things, all these trends are here too. So how is Election Commission gearing up to safeguard the system, entire system, from such kind of technological threats?
Election Commission immediately braced up to the challenge when all these revelations were made about elections in other countries, and the data harvesting, targeted communication, profiling and all those things. We immediately took steps to train all our manpower in cyber security, so that we are safe from that angle. Second thing, we also examine that not much of data from our voters has been taken even by Cambridge Analytica. We also had a group of officers investigating this. They interacted with the local heads as well as regional heads of Facebook, Twitter and other social media platforms, and they have cooperated with us in as much as they said that during elections nothing adverse will be allowed to be on their platform. They will be flagging the sponsors and the cost of advertisements on their platforms, and in last 48 hours before the conclusion of the poll, they will ensure that nothing relating to election is on their platform. So that way we will have very smooth sailing as far as social media and this risk of data harvesting, profiling, etc. is concerned. We tested this in recently held elections to Karnataka Assembly, and we found that we had absolutely no threat of that kind.
Recently, in the Supreme Court, central government has given an affidavit that 36% legislators in the country have criminal cases against them. So how big is this a threat for Indian democracy, and what more can EC do to check this?
Commission has always been for decriminalization of politics, and therefore even in the recent PIL in Honorable Supreme Court, Commission had submitted its affidavit to cleanse the politics of criminal elements. However, now the verdict is out, and Commission will implement that verdict in letter and in spirit, as I have already said.
What's your take on one nation, one poll? Is it feasible? Is it practical? What all constitutional amendments are required?
There is no issue of feasibility or practicability, because India has had simultaneous elections in 1952, 57, 62, 67. Only after 67 that many states went out of sync, and therefore separate elections were being held. So no issue of practicability or feasibility. However, now to bring all these legislatures to sync for elections, we will need certain amendments in the constitution to bring their tenures in line, and certain amendments in Representation of People Act. After these amendments are in place, then Commission will be mandated to conduct simultaneous election, and therefore at that point of time Commission will ask for logistic support, because we will need more machines, yes. We will need more CAPF companies, we will need more polling personnel and more resources. That taken care of, there won't be any issue in holding simultaneous elections.
But like if we talk about the time plan, in how many years do you see this happening, if it's feasible?
Once political executive makes up its mind and they have the numbers to carry out the amendments, I think it won't take much time to do it. Only thing is that there will be a need for political consensus to carry out those amendments.
But what happens, like situation in Jammu and Kashmir that we see right now, what happens in such situations when the state assembly is dissolved? We hold elections, and if such a scenario emerges, then what happens? Because
suggested amendments take care of all eventualities. In fact, Election Commission was asked in 2015, and we had given the options for all kinds of permutations and combinations. If in case no confidence motion is there, then it should be permitted only with a confidence motion, so that alternative government is in place. Suppose it doesn't succeed, then we can have two options, that for remaining period we can hold election, or for remaining period, if it is very short, we can have a consensus government like that. So there are options available for every situation.
Would it be cost effective? We'll have to also buy new EVMs, the number would increase too, but there won't be simultaneous like separate elections for states and as we have it now. So would it be cost effective?
No empirical study has been conducted as yet to find out the cost effectiveness of this idea. However, subjective impressions can be that as far as EVMs are concerned, more money will be required, because more machines will be required, and the expenditure on EVMs will go up, because these machines will be used only thrice, their lifetime is 15 years, inventory carrying cost will increase. But on the other hand, the cost of deployment of central paramilitary force, polling personnel, vehicles and other things, that will come up as a saving, because we are deploying twice, for assembly separately and for parliament separately. But when both elections are held together, then it may be just around 120%. So there may be saving of 80% of that expenditure. So we will have to work out this in detail.